Open their books.
It was confirming the ruling of the Western Cape High Court that by not expressly providing for this disclosure, the Promotion of Access to Information Act is inconsistent with the Constitution, and it has left the details of amendments to the bill with Parliament though.
Another victory for NGO My Vote Counts, and the end of the road for secrecy in the funding of political parties and independent candidates.
The order of constitutional invalidity made by the Western Cape Division of the High Court, Cape Town, is confirmed in these terms. 1.1. It is declared that information on the private funding of political parties and independent candidates is essential for the effective exercise of the right to make political choices and to participate in the elections. 1.2. It is declared that information on private funding of political parties and independent candidates must be recorded, preserved, and made reasonably accessible.
The highest court in the land says the Constitution protects the right of access to information and obliges the state to fulfill the right to vote by ensuring that it is exercised meaningfully and with understanding, but the act expected to effect these rights is inept.
It is also declared that the Promotion of Access to Information Act 2 of 2000 (BAIA) is invalid to the extent of its inconsistency with the Constitution by failing to provide for the recordal, preservation, and reasonable disclosure of information on the private funding of political parties and independent candidates.
To observe the separation of powers, the appeal that sought to order Parliament on the details of the bill is dismissed, and details of how often parties should disclose have been left to the ongoing parliamentary process on the bill, but clean governance is central to this ruling.
The need to minimize the risk of voters putting into office or even electing into government a political party or independent candidate who is corrupt or somehow compromised.
And My Vote Counts is not done.
We are concerned that there would be delays and that they perhaps the bill won't be passed or implementable before the 2019 elections, although we hope that it can be passed and effective before the 2019 elections.
A time frame of 18 months for Parliament to amend the Act is also confirmed, and the Minister of Justice is ordered to pay My Vote Counts for legal costs. Ntakwana Ngatani, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now, remember that political parties at one stage were quite united that they didn't want to be fully transparent in this area, but most of them voted for the political party funding bill earlier. So some agreement that there will be transparency around funds. Let's see their reaction to the Concourt ruling today.
That is the highest court in the land in South Africa, so we will respect and abide by the decision of the Constitutional Court, because there is no any other way to go. The buck stops there, and I'm sure we welcome the ruling of the Constitutional Court.
Our democracy is basically for sale to the highest bidder, and people would fund political parties in a way that always favors the ruling party, in the sense that those people who seek patronage will make donations on the basis that their identities will be hidden. This encourages corruption and all sorts of other excesses. We think this is a step in the right direction. There's still a long way to go before our party funding system is normalized.
Money is the milk of politics. And for any political party to survive in the political terrain, obviously will require funding. Because you need billboards, you need to send out manifestos, you need to send out messages, you need to buy T-shirts, etc., etc. So it's where we obtain the funding from that is going to be critical to the public, because there are political parties that probably use funding that they get because of favors that they offer certain individuals or companies. We've seen that happen. and we wouldn't like that to happen in the future, and I think the public have a right to know where we get our funding from.
We've been in favour all along to declare and make known our where we get our donations from, but we've said all along that then all parties should do exactly the same. Luckily now the court says that it should be done, but the new bill on the funding of political parties now also make provision that parties will have to declare where they get their donations from. So we think it's a good judgment, but the new law will also now force parties to do so, and we're very happy with that.
We welcome this Constitutional Court judgment because it reaffirms the position that we took as far back as 2003 as the United Democratic Movement, saying parties must disclose their private funders. This is particularly important in the context of what is happening in the country insofar as state capture is concerned. What people must understand is that the capture of the state starts as the capture of political parties. And if we don't allow citizens to know who funds their political parties, if we don't allow people to know what is happening behind the scenes in political parties, before you know it, some individuals will control a democracy for you.
Well, the SADP notes today's judgment, and we are in full agreement with the Chief Justice's sentiment that information about the private donations to political parties is essential for citizens to effectively exercise their vote. However, in the meantime, of course, Parliament has passed the political party funding legislation that does regulate private funding of political parties and prohibits funding from foreign governments. So we've already been processing this matter, and it is come a long way from previous judgments that have now been confirmed by the Constitutional Court.
3 initiates have died at Libode in the Eastern Cape, this a week after the official start of the winter initiation season. The initiates are said to have been younger than the legal age of 18 and at an illegal initiation school. Postmortems will be conducted on Friday. No arrests have been made. Meanwhile, a 24-year-old